Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show at wakeupamericashow.com. Yes, there's a show today, and we are live. It's no pre-record here. Are you hearing that giggling over there on my side? What is it? This Freedom Family Friday? Is that my smoking hot redheaded libertarian wife over there? Wait, oh no, no. It's even better. It's Edie Vogel joining us in studio today.
Oh my goodness, no smoking hot wife over here today. It's just me.
Smoking hot Edie Vogel here today.
Morning.
Jefferson City Luminary. Nice to see you.
Good to see you again.
How have you been, Edie?
Well, I'm still kicking.
As we can see.
You know, ups and downs with sinus congestion and earaches and, you know, that type of thing that I think everybody's got again. But I'm not going to get worried about it. It's just the way it is.
Don't worry, be happy.
That's right.
We're going to try to have some fun today. Don't forget, eat that mic, Edie. Get in there close.
Okay, there we go.
Go right into that thing there. How are you doing today, audience? Nice to see you here. We've got a great 2-hour show for you. Of course, since it's Wednesday, we've got our regular scheduled appearance by Judge Andrew Napolitano, who's going to be joining us this morning at 8 a.m. Central Time. I want to hear from him about his thoughts about the election of Javier Milei, the anarcho-capitalist president of Argentina. We were just talking about it a couple minutes ago. Edie, you were kind of excited about it.
Well, you know, I know we don't get any decent news from the mainstream media, and I do still occasionally listen to the conspiracists, whoever they are and whatever they do. I do enjoy them because I think they don't get marching orders from anybody. They do their own thing like you do.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we were chatting about the election, I said, I think this might be good. And I was quizzing you and asking you because I did not really follow it, but I did hear this morning or yesterday morning on mainstream media that, you know, the reason that everybody's kind of interested is because they counted paper ballots. And they got it all done in one day without a glitch.
How dare you?
This guy won. So
we're definitely gonna have a conversation about him.
I mean, we've got to.
Edie is not familiar with the terms anarcho-capitalist, minarchist.
Well, I've heard them, and common sense will tell you what they lead to.
Oh, okay. So you know what? This would be fun.
Yeah.
What if you could guess what is an anarcho-capitalist?
Anti
what?
Anti-capitalist.
No.
No? Positive?
No, as pro-capitalist.
So I'm definitely dumb today.
So that's okay.
Get it out.
An anarcho-capitalist. So basically a pure capitalist. Someone who believes in no government, but capitalism, privatization, free markets, free trade, liberalization of markets, right? So basically the opposite of an anarcho-communist, right? Who is like, you know,
pure communist. Okay.
Right?
Well, I learned something today.
So,
thank you.
Pure capitalist, if you will, right? So we're going to talk about that a little bit later in the show. We've got lots of fun content today because it's the day before Thanksgiving. Gobble, gobble. Are you looking forward to having a nice meal, Edie?
You know, it's just another day that everybody gets together and you figure out, you know, well, who's going to bring this and who's not going to bring that. And, you know, I just kind of get my instructions and go.
Okay. Well, we'd love to hear from our listeners today about what you're doing for the holiday season. We are hearing that there might be some winter storms that might snarl Thanksgiving travels. So we'll give you an update about that today. You can text the show and let us know what's on your mind at 573-319-1586. Again, the text lines are open, and that's true night or day, 24/7, 365 days a year. You can always text me and say hello, 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586. We love to hear from our listeners today on what's going on in the world. So if you've got something going on in your world, let us know. Okay. Edie, so why don't we just go ahead and start the show with something a little bit fun before we get to the Froot Loops topic here. 4 different types of Thanksgiving sides. I want you to tell me which one has to go. Okay, so of the 4 Thanksgiving sides, one has to go, and we cannot have any more forever. It is deleted from history. Thanksgiving sides: 1, cranberry sauce; 2, stuffing, 3, mashed potatoes, 4, green bean casserole.
You want my personal opinion?
Yeah, this is your personal opinion of these. One of
Green
these.
bean casserole.
What? Boo! Boo! There is a correct answer to this, by the way,
and it's probably cranberries.
It's cranberry
Yes,
sauce.
yeah,
You like cranberry sauce, eh?
I there's something about it next on the. I like to lay it on, put some next to my turkey and take a bite of the turkey, and then a little bit of cranberry sauce to kind of wash it down. If it's dry, and usually turkey is dry, so.
I like double chocolate chip ice cream. Somebody texted in and says, I like double. They want me to prove that we're live by saying, I like double chocolate chip ice cream. Yes. One listener texted in this morning and says that the day before Thanksgiving is, in my opinion, one of the busiest travel days of the year. I think it is.
You know, as long as the Buddha judge has got, or whatever his name is, got the airplanes up flying in the air instead of sitting on a tarmac somewhere, you know.
Buddha judge,
whatever his name is. What a disaster in the. Oh, never mind.
No, it's okay. Go ahead. I mean, go ahead.
There's somebody that is just made a mess of our travel plans. I mean, I know the airlines kind of have a thing in it too, but he for sure has not done anybody any favors in whatever his title is. And Congress should withdraw his salary. And I think I read somewhere where they're thinking about doing that. Somebody introduced that.
Well, the good news is this, Edie, is that if the current polls are to be believed, then at the moment, it's quite possible that Donald Trump might be elected as our president of the United States again.
I'm going to tell you, I haven't changed any in that. I'm still a Trumpster.
She's a hardcore Trumpertarian.
Yep.
She's Edie Vogel, and she's joining us live in studio. She's a local Jefferson City luminary, former Jefferson City councilwoman, and she's also a good friend of the show and a big supporter of ours. We're grateful to have Edie here today with us on set for the Thanksgiving special as we all prepare to stuff ourselves silly. I love stuffing. Stuffing is delicious, so I can't say goodbye to stuffing. Mashed potatoes is like, how could you say no to mashed potatoes?
Right.
I could understand why you might say goodbye to green bean casserole, but do you like it in general, or just the one you like the least?
It's something that I can guarantee you that at every Thanksgiving meal that I remember as a kid, we didn't have that.
Really?
And I'm trying to think back. We might have had green beans, but they didn't put. You know, and when you think of the casserole, is it cream of mushroom soup?
Yeah.
And
it's delicious.
And the fried onion things, do they go in that?
Yeah, the fried onions on top. Oh, so
I like green beans, but I don't think any of my grandmas made it that way. I think they just put up a can of Blue Lake green beans.
Okay.
And Del Monte. Had to be Del Monte brand.
So maybe the reason why I didn't like the cranberry sauce is because when we had it as a kid, it would just like come out of the can.
It was that gelled stuff.
It would come out of the can, right? And it'd just be like a big like can shaped thing, and it was very unappetizing looking for me.
I would agree with you on that.
So so maybe that's why, because we didn't like have fresh cranberry sauce or anything like that. Maybe I would have liked it if it was fresh, but green bean casserole was a staple. But you know what else is a hot holiday item? Is the deviled eggs, which apparently are not easy to make.
But I do like deviled eggs, and
I can eat me some deviled eggs, man.
You know, when you're leaving out the sweet potatoes.
Well, sweet potato, that's part of it. Hey, listen, I don't want to forget about my sweet potatoes here.
I would much rather have sweet potatoes than a green bean casserole.
I didn't like those as a kid. Now I do.
Yeah.
But so sweet potatoes definitely on there with the marshmallows on top.
Well, now I'm going to be odd and tell you I don't care about the marshmallows.
You don't want the marshmallows on top?
A little bit of butter and the brown sugar and just a sprinkling of pecans.
Okay. Oh, that actually sounds really good. Now I'm hungry.
I know.
How dare you? How dare you make me hungry this morning? If you're just tuning in the Wake Up America show, good morning. We're glad to have you here. 224 people watching us live. What's up? How you doing, America? I'm Austin Peterson, joined by my friend Edie Vogel. She lives here in Jefferson City with me. She's a friend of the show. And we're having a little Thanksgiving special today, bringing you glad tidings of comfort and joy.
Yes.
We are.
Is the Christmas music started on the
Yeah, oh
radio?
yeah, oh yeah. And we're into it. Stephanie loves Christmas. She loves Christmas. She's already started decorating, but we haven't put the tree up. Her family is from the side of God's chosen people. But she never got to celebrate Christmas
Right.
growing up, but she always wanted to. So now that she can, we basically celebrate all the holidays. And so when her mom comes today, she's coming in today.
If she can get here.
She's going to get here. She's going to get
flying.
She's flying in, but into St. Louis. Don't worry, she's going to get here.
Okay. I'm hoping that she does.
She does. She does. She will. She will. The luck of the Petersons. Trust me, I'm a very lucky man. We're going to have her in today, and then we're going to decorate the tree together. So we're going to put up the tree. Have you put up your tree yet?
Austin.
What?
I have in my big house,
Mhm.
I have I think it's around a 4-foot tree that stays up year round. Okay.
Oh, really?
Yeah. 'Cause I got enough rooms I can do that.
Oh, that's nice.
And then there's a little one, a table tree in the dining room that stays up year round.
Mhm.
This year was the year that I got to put new lights on my big 50-foot pine tree out in the front yard.
Oh, that's cool.
So I'm patiently waiting, and I noticed last night that people do have lights on,
Mm-hmm.
and I kind of always prefer to light the tree on the first Sunday in Advent.
Oh, okay.
Which will be December the 3rd or 4th, whatever the day is of this first Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
And then I thought, well, maybe on Thanksgiving, like they do up in the plaza in Kansas City, turn on the lights then.
I love that you call it plaza too.
I just haven't made up my mind yet, but I kind of have just said, if all the lights come on this year, it'll be because I've been doing this since 2005.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I leave it as a gift to Jefferson City on my hillside. When you come across the Missouri River Bridge, you can't miss it. Okay. And so I'm hopeful that when I flip the switch, they'll all come on.
Oh, by the way, how do you pronounce Pecan?
I saw something the other day, and I'm gonna pecan.
Pecan?
Pecan.
So it's Puchcahn. Pecan.
Pecan.
Not pecan.
I
You don't pee in the can.
And that's what I was referring to, I think, is pecan.
Pecan. Yeah, that's what I say. Pecan pie. Yeah, for sure.
Now, I might not come out in 5 minutes the same way with me, like Missouri and Missouri.
Yeah, it could be either way. It could be either way,
right.
for sure. For those of you who are tuning in this morning, happy Thanksgiving, happy holidays. Glad to have you here. I'm Austin Peterson with Edie Vogel. We're having a good time today. Click the like button and subscribe to the channel. Just an FYI, we will be out tomorrow and Friday spending time with family, but we'll be back next week. The Wake Up America show typically streams Monday through Friday from 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time, and it's a great way to start your day and learn about what's going on in the world. But today's a little bit of a Thanksgiving special, so we're going to sweeten it up with a little cranberry sauce and sweet potatoes, and we're going to have some pecans. Speaking of sweet, did you you heard the story I told you this morning that Froot Loops has gone woke?
When you mentioned that, I thought, I sure am glad I never liked Froot Loops.
I mean, like,
I just
they are a
that's
bit
one
fruity.
thing. I don't know, maybe we miss cereal was not a big thing to eat in my house.
No.
I'm
a big cereal guy. I love cereal.
I do occasionally like the Rice Krispies or Corn Flakes, but all that other stuff that the kids,
sugary stuff. Lucky Charms. They're always after me, Lucky Charms. Well, here's the story. Kellogg's cereal brand Froot Loops is facing boycott calls for offering consumers a digital library of children's books that promote equality, diversity, and inclusion. Boxes of the cereal in Canada include a promotional tag to a free online library. Purchasers and their family can use the resource to learn how incredibly colorful and diverse the world can be. So it was created by the Boys and Girls Club of Canada to help families explore diverse topics. But now people are calling for a boycott on social media. I'm not a big Froot Loops guy. I do like cereal, but again, why can't they leave the kids alone, Edie? Why can't they just leave the kids the hell alone?
Austin, I don't understand why they have to interfere with children's development.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't, and I'm not the expert to speak of it because I have no children, but I've been surrounded by my nieces and my nephews, all my life, and they've got their children now. So I'm on the next. I don't understand it. Why a kid can't be a kid?
Well, here's what my brother says. Well, but real quick, I want to say thank you to Studio 314 who dropped a couple dollars in the tip jar this morning. Thanks, guys. Appreciate that. Spread the love this morning. They're dropping a little cash in the tip jar. Help us very much. Poor children at Christmas. Studio 314, we're very grateful for that. He says, thanks, AP for Liberty. My house smells like mint. We have a holiday coffee that's called Martha's Mint, like Martha
you were
Washington.
showing me your new adventure.
The new coffee, yes. I mean, we're going to talk about that here a little bit later. But when it comes to Froot Loops on parade, says Joni Rankin. Very funny.
Good one, Joni.
CJ824 says, bye-bye Froot Loops. The funny thing is about this. Here's what my brother said this. This is not my words. These are his. And he's gay. He says that since they can't reproduce, they have to recruit. What do you think of that? My brother's not woke.
No, I know.
Yeah. So he's gotten red pilled. So he's like, he says the gay community has gone off the rails. He says that they've gone woke, and he can't follow them down that path. He says that they need to keep away from kids, and he says that the reason why they go after kids like this is because they don't have their own kids, and so they've got to go after yours. What do you think of that?
I think I have to agree with him.
Yeah. Yeah, that's controversial,
as a straight white conservative female.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who's not a lesbian.
Well, it's like, it's kind of like, right. She's not a lesbian because she's not married. She's not married. But it's kind of like this, the Israel-Hamas conflict thing has really like put people along like new division lines. Because think about this. Think about how the Jewish Democrats who were funding all these colleges and are pulling all of their money out there, realizing
because of what's happened,
because of what a stupid mistake it was.
It's
funding the left. It's just what they've turned into.
It just seems like that's another thing in my age that I have attained, which I'm still surprised that I've made it this long, is the fact that our higher institutes of knowledge have turned into a select organization of protesters who don't know what they're protesting about except hatefulness.
Well, my point is that so like the gay community is now, because of this wokeness, is now splitting them up, because it used to be that there was very monolithic, right, like kind of a voting bloc, and it was the same with Jewish Democrats, right, where Jewish Democrats were on the side of all these wokesters too, and were funding all this in college campuses until October 7th happened, and all of a sudden it's like, oh no, what have we done? Look at these mistakes that we've made.
That's right.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Donald Trump's election next year comes because of minorities who are going to vote for him, which are doing more and more so. A lot of the polls that I'm seeing for Donald Trump are showing that increased numbers of minorities are looking to vote for him. They don't like, not having jobs and being broke and Bidenomics, And I would not be surprised if more people from the LGBT community, people like my brother, who don't hate America, who want to live in a free country, who don't want to support Hamas, who would throw him off a roof if he was in Gaza, right? If they won't contribute to the re-election of Donald Trump. Your thoughts?
I can't disagree with you, but my main concern is, how are we going to pull off a fair election to where we don't have the
I don't know,
injection of ballots from under the table in the mailbox, that's the whole key to the next year's election is going to be, how can we make it fair?
Well, I mean,
I know states have worked really hard, red states particularly, to get their way they vote in order. And I take, for instance, here in Jefferson City, I think the Cole County Courthouse is hearing the identification, the IDs. And I'm anxious to see what the judge rules on that.
It'll be interesting. Yeah. I mean, Missouri has one
Because
of the stricter. We have one of the
a
stricter.
state law that says you show your ID.
I love it.
Right?
Exactly. I love it that I love the meme that I saw recently where it's like the left wanted to force us to show our vaccine cards, but they didn't want to make us show an ID to vote.
Oh, see, I mean, well, we all learned that was fake.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah.
I mean, so
absolutely.
Those 3 years we lost in our life
Mhm.
because of the lying of the government to the United States citizens. Yes.
So, by the way, speaking of Donald Trump, here in Missouri, we're not doing a primary this year.
I understand.
Have you ever done a caucus?
I belong to the little Republican, our little,
Local Republican club.
I'm not a member of the Cole County Republican. They have you're elected by wherever your ward or wherever you live. Well, I'm not that, but I do belong to the social club of and we have been explained that we will have a caucus versus us going to the polls and selecting.
I like that.
And I
prefer that.
I think I remember, as old as I am, I think I attended one of those a long time ago, and it was up in Sedalia, Missouri.
Okay.
So I think it's based on your congressional district.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have been away from that for I don't know how many elections.
Yeah, because we had primaries.
Yeah.
You just show up, you vote, and then you're done.
Yeah.
I like caucuses better because it rewards loyalty and it rewards your ability to stick around and to fight it out for your candidate.
And that's exactly what our local leadership of the arrangement of the caucus that I think is going to be held in March.
Yeah.
Is that it shows your determination of who you want to really
I like
support.
that better because I just don't like the idea that like people think, oh, it's my civic responsibility to vote, but most people don't vote in primaries anyway, and most people don't vote overall. But
never do it.
But
understand that
if there's going to be quote unquote hurdles to voting, I like the idea that you have to show up and you have to actually politic. You have to meet your neighbors and you have to build coalitions with them and you have to learn how the system works. Quest Fanning just dropped $10 in the tip jar. Happy Thanksgiving, Quest. Thank you very much. He says, organize getting the mail-in ballots to veterans and the Republicans will win. That's a great idea. Appreciate that, Quest. Thank you.
True.
So the idea behind the caucus is that you have to build coalitions to be able to build a majority.
Yeah.
My belief is that at this point, I think Donald Trump is going to win. So here's the thing. So I don't see any point in going to the caucus and just caucusing for Trump. So I think if I want to help shape the future of the Republican Party, and what we haven't talked about yet, and I'd be curious to hear your thoughts. I'm thinking about caucusing for Vivek Ramaswamy.
It's something else.
Yeah, I like him.
I think
you don't have to like him. You want to?
No.
You could talk smack if you want.
No, I like him.
Oh, okay, you do. All right.
Because I just think he's just kind of a breath of fresh air, and he might be a robotic type individual, and but what he comes out of his mouth it's appealing to my ears.
I'm glad you see that. I'm glad you like that because he is very closer to what I am as a Republican.
I mean, his intelligence never stops, and he doesn't.
So my hope is that if he can make a big enough splash and get enough of a vote total, that Trump might
choose him as vice VP.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. I would like to see that.
With that.
That's not. Oh, look at that! Conservatives and libertarians getting together. Getting along.
I think the folks are also kind of enamored by Nikki Haley.
Ooh.
And Austin. I don't care for her.
I don't like her. You're awesome, Edie. This is why we get along.
And it's now the gal from up in the Dakotas, Christy.
Oh, Christy Noem.
I can like her.
Same.
But there's something about Nikki Haley that
I think she wants to start World War III.
Well, that's kind of
that's my concern. Is she's a little too George Bush for me, you know. And it's not that like I don't despise George Bush like some people do, but I don't think that the Republican Party needs to continue in that direction, right? I like Trump's foreign policy.
We're trying to
Drain the swamp.
We're trying to get away from all this killing of these innocent people.
Exactly. We want less war. We want to have
peace.
Peace.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think we need peace through strength. I think that Trump demonstrated that in a foreign policy way, right? I think people knew not to mess with Trump.
We weren't at.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? Well, preaching to the choir.
You're preaching to the choir. Preaching to the choir.
I just don't. I still think though. Back to our point about Trump is going to be the nominee no matter what.
Yes, agreed.
Unless they do arrest him and throw his butt in jail.
Oh, somebody texted in and asked, "What is a caucus?" They don't know what it is. Do you know what it is? Can you explain it?
You better. You're more into it than I don't want to make a mistake.
No, it's okay. I'll explain it. I'll explain it so our listeners understand.
Yeah.
So a caucus is different from a primary because a primary, you show up to a polling location, you cast your ballot, fill in the circles, and you put it in the voting machine, the counting machine, and then you go home and you're done. A caucus is an all-day event. If you want to vote in a caucus, you have to show up, you have to stick around for hours while voting is done, and you form little groups of people based on who you want to support. And what'll happen is it'll be like in a school gym. And you'll go to one, they'll say, okay, if you're a supporter of Donald Trump, go to this corner. If you're a supporter of Nikki Haley, go to this corner. If you're a supporter of Vivek, go to this corner, and so on and so on. And so what happens is you see, they'll be like, okay, we're going to have like 4 or 5 rounds of voting, that you will see about who has the most support based on how many people are there. Now, if it looks like 2 candidates have about the same amount of votes that might overtake the first place candidate, what'll usually happen is by the second or third round, you'll see, okay, nobody's voting for Nikki Haley. Where are her voters going to go? And then politicking happens because what'll happen is everybody will have like 15 minutes to do huddles and be like, okay, come over here, you guys, we're going to give you guys this number of votes if you guys will take this number of votes. And it becomes this whole deal of like, maybe a little of arm twisting and stuff like that. It's like, hey, listen, I made the green bean casserole for your Thanksgiving dinner last year. You need to come over here and support me or whatever. Or it's just like, hey, Vivek is much closer to Donald Trump than he is to Nikki Haley. So come over to Vivek's side, right? Or whatever. And so by the end of the day, by maybe the 5th or 6th round of voting, there'll be like a simple majority that'll be obvious. And there'll be like a first place winner, a second place winner, and a third place winner. So you're all essentially acting like politicians, it's like a mini Congress.
And not don't forget the Democrats will do the same thing.
Yes, the Democrats will do that too.
Both parties. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, so both parties will have a caucus here in Missouri. I prefer the caucus system because it's better. It rewards loyalty. You shouldn't. To me, I don't like the idea that people feel like they've done their civic duty by just showing up for 5 minutes and filling in a bubble. Okay, the founding fathers did not envision a democracy where people were just filling out a ballot and then going home. First of all, they didn't envision women voting, 1.
That's true.
And 2, people that didn't own property voting, 2, yeah. and lots of things. However, the system was set up for participation. If you want to be a part of the American system, you should have to participate. If you want to have a say in government, you have to show up, okay? And it's not just show up, here's my little bubble, and I fill it in and I go home. No. If you want to, voting is force. And if you want to use force on your fellow citizens and have your agenda passed, then you need to convince your fellow citizens why your candidate or why your agenda is superior, and you should have to do so through the caucus process, which I find to be much more democratic and much more fair than just, we just have masses of people showing up and voting in a bubble. And it's like, you didn't talk to each other, you didn't have any conversations. To me, a caucus fosters a sense of community.
I would agree. Yes,
that's my view on these things. So I wonder what you think. If you're just tuning in the morning, good morning. Tuning into the show this morning, good morning. I'm Austin Peterson. We're glad to have you here. I'm joined by Edie Vogel, who's joining us live in studio this morning. Edie
good morning.
Is a Jefferson City luminary.
I don't know about that luminary part.
I love that word. And we're glad to have you. Click that like button and subscribe to the channel. We'd love to have you come back and join us here every Monday through Friday from 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time here on the program. We're going to move on to the next topic, how to botch an assassination investigation. Today, November 22nd, is the anniversary of the assassination of John F. Kennedy. And I read a really good story in the Wall Street Journal about it's called How to Botch an Assassination Investigation. And the subtitle is Law Enforcement Learned from the Mistakes of November 1963. When Reagan was shot in 1981, we got it right. So John F. Kennedy was assassinated on November 22nd, 1963, and it brought a lot of justifiable scrutiny on law enforcement that should have prevented it, as well as those that investigated it. So 60 years later, we're still declassifying government records, and we're still releasing papers related to it. The Warren Commission's finding that Lee Harvey Oswald, acting alone, fired 3 rifle shots from the 6th floor of the Texas School Book Depository building is widely but not uniformly accepted. So, and now the question, of course, is what have we learned from this, that the lessons that we can apply today? Because the Kennedy investigation devolved into a fiasco, right? Nobody was in charge. The FBI, the Secret Service, Dallas Police, Sheriff's Office, they were all arguing with each other. They all battled over who should be controlling Oswald, who should control the rifle and other evidence. And then they mishandled Oswald, which allowed Jack Ruby to kill him.
I shouldn't laugh, but
No, but I mean, like, it's government blunder after government blunder after government blunder, and then of course this adds fuel to the fire of the conspiracy theories. Pretty much every American would eventually see the death of the president on the Zapruder film, and then the killing of the assassin while in police custody is also out there for all of us to see. What's interesting, Edie, and then I want to hear your story once I get finished setting this up, is that in 1963 it wasn't a federal crime to kill the president.
oh,
So, in response to the Kennedy assassination, Congress passed a 1965 law that made assaulting the president a federal crime. And the new statute was very clear. The FBI would conduct investigations into attacks on the president. So, over the years, FBI agents have been receiving training, emphasizing the lessons that they've learned from the JFK killing. And then other law enforcement agencies will participate in joint training exercises, Secret Service, Capitol Police, et cetera, et cetera. But then 20 years later, on March 30th, 1981, Reagan was shot and wounded. And then the investigation of that began. The officer who wrote this piece in the Wall Street Journal says that as he was driving to the Washington Hilton, and I've been there and seen it, he says that we have to get this right. I wanted to avoid the turf wars seen in Dallas. Everyone I spoke to that day, including the Secret Service, had the same commitment in mind. We couldn't repeat the mistakes of November 1963. So he says, as he got out of the car at the crime scene, the commander of the Washington Metro Police Homicide Unit walked towards him. He's with the FBI, and gave him the .22 caliber revolver that was from the suspected shooter. John Hinckley Jr. was then taken to the Capitol Police prison. However, he was then quickly whisked away from there to Quantico, which is the Marine Force base, an hour and a half south of Washington, D.C., and held in the Marines Brig, which is very unusual. But that is now, when it comes to like a federal investigation of a presidential assassination, that is the protocol now.
Well,
they take you to the brig where the Marines guard them, right? Highly unusual, but necessary. Then, of course, Hinckley was found not guilty by reason of insanity. So he finishes it like this. Mr. Baker is his name. He says, we can be sorrowful that Jack Kennedy, our youngest elected president, was lost to us only after a few years in office. But we can also be grateful that Ronald Reagan, our oldest president at the time, survived to serve 2 terms in office. On the day Reagan was shot, law enforcement didn't want to repeat the errors made in Dallas, and to this day, there has never been any suggestion of a conspiracy surrounding the Reagan assassination attempt. So, first of all, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, and then I'd love to hear your story about where you were, how old you were, and your thoughts about it in general.
Let's see. November 22nd, 63.
1963.
I guess I was in either 6th or 7th grade. at the St. Joseph's Cathedral School. And of course, at the time before Kennedy was elected, the school, being a Catholic grade school, everybody in the whole school was excited because we were going to get our first Catholic, or,
first Catholic president.
Now, I looked at it a little bit differently because of my family background in regards to their politics. My household was staunchly Republican. And even though John F. Kennedy was a Catholic, my father particularly was not, that didn't sway him because he didn't like his politics.
Really?
So when it
Because he was a Democrat.
Because he was a Democrat. And so when it came time for the we students to come to school, this was at the election in 60, and he was installed in 61. I'm the only kid. There might have been another one of my classmates show up with Nixon buttons on.
Nixon now more than ever.
And before that, I was the only kid in school that showed up with a Goldwater button on.
Yeah.
So
Goldwater in your heart, you know he's right.
You can't say that your upbringing might set the pace and tone of your lives as you grow up, because when you're young, you're so susceptible to influence of your parents. So I just, after he was elected, life just went on.
Sure.
But that particular Friday, of course, when he was killed, the school was, it was pretty morbid. And I kind of just thought, man, I was just thought, how'd this happen? And so, of course, we immediately were summoned to the chapel and started praying. And that wouldn't be unusual due to the fact that we were Catholic. But the main reason that it was so obvious that at the St. Joseph was that our teachers were Irish nuns who had come from Ireland. They were asked to come by our church to teach us in the newest school, the Catholic school in Jefferson City. So our teachers were these Irish nuns who, it was difficult. They spoke English okay, but they had the brogue. Right. And they had weird,
the Irish brogue.
And they had weird expressions. Like it was nothing for them to always refer to all of us children as queer. You queer children. You queer children. But we had no idea,
that was eventually going to be homosexual.
Right. So, and with some of the nuns, they like to refer to some of us, and wasn't me particularly, because I liked a cold classroom, and they make those rooms so hot, and
make you sleepy.
Would go over and open the window, and the other kids, oh, it's cold in here, it's cold in here, and the nun would holler, "You lily liver children, we must have fresh air in the classroom," and just things of that nature. And I just I thought, okay, it's still a tragedy. And of course, then all the rest of the weekend, everybody was glued to their television at home. And I don't think there would have been anybody that did not see the next day, Oswald getting arrested and shot by Jack Ruby.
Yeah.
And we saw all that, live in our black and white TVs.
It's kind of like your 9/11 to some extent, was for us kind of like that wake up call, if you will.
And I mean, it was just a whole weekend until Kennedy was put in Arlington, and the eternal flame was lit, and you watched the strength of his wife, Jackie, who, after a couple of years later, he realized that their marriage was just just kind of a
for show. You gotta have they call it a beard, in the gay world. But
then you have the poor children and the whole Kennedy family, the tragedy that's hit them. I mean, it's like a curse.
It is. They call it the Kennedy curse.
And I mean,
we got to say thank you to Johnny W., who dropped $1 in the tip jar this morning. Thank you, Johnny.
So it was my first experience in a tragedy happening in our country that you remember the rest of your life.
For sure. My thing is about the John F. Kennedy assassination is, one, it's just as an anecdote here. My grandmother, Grandma Rose, that's her birthday. So like today is her birthday. So my dad just says that he remembers being home and that normally everybody would be in a happy mood and festive, but
ruined.
it was ruined,
Yeah.
because and then of course it's ruined forever to extent because people
Exactly.
always remember that somber day.
Yeah.
And he said he came home that day and that the atmosphere in the room, of course, was quite somber. But for me, I've always been fascinated by conspiracy theories. And so I've always been the type of person who loves to find out the truth of the conspiracy. And the sad thing is the reality about like the JFK conspiracy theory is that there's so much noise, signal to noise ratio. So if there's too much noise, you can't get the signal.
Yeah, and with this, we'll never. I mean,
There's so
see, I'm
much
like you. I
noise.
think there was more to the assassination than just Lee Harvey Oswald
Well,
coming out of nowhere and doing it. I
I
think the CIA was involved in it.
Okay, so I used to think that was a possibility, but I've changed my mind.
Okay.
Now I actually do think it was Oswald from the book depository, and the reason why I went down that path is because I saw the JFK movie by what's his name, the communist guy,
Oliver
Stone.
Mhm.
I saw that movie. I saw read the stuff about the magic bullet theory when I was in high school. I read the conspiracy theory books and stuff and was fascinated with it. But as the years went by, the thing that sparked my skepticism of the conspiracy theories was this. One, government is incompetent.
Yes.
And to pull off a conspiracy like that, I think is beyond even the powers of our central intelligence agencies, right? I believe in a conspiracy, a confederacy of dunces versus a conspiracy of super geniuses. So here's what started my path. I was in Dallas and I was on a trip, and this was not too long ago. It was like 2010 or 12. I was in Dallas on a trip on a bus, and I will never forget the feeling that I had as I was on this bus. I felt all of a sudden I was like deja vu.
Mm-hmm.
I had never been to Dallas before. So I'm on this bus. We're going through this down this highway, and all of a sudden I get chills, and I'm like, "Why does this look so familiar? Why do I recognize this?" And all of a sudden I was like, this is the assassination site. And I looked over my right shoulder. I was literally where John F. Kennedy was shot, where they paint an X on the road. People try and clean it up, but it's always there. I was literally in the spot where John F. Kennedy was, and like John F. Kennedy, I looked over my right shoulder and I looked up at the book depository, and all of a sudden I went from this feeling of rush of excitement to disappointment. Because as a deer hunter growing up and as an avid marksman, I had this impression when I watched the movie that it was this massive, huge area and that it was very far away and the shot was damn near impossible. Yeah, I could have shot that like with any gun with no problem. It was not a hard shot to make. I own the gun that not the gun that Oswald used, but I have the type, the Carcano, and I've done experiments with it, and I have friends who do scientific experiments with it, no problem. And then I started reading about Oswald's biography, and I think that the CIA conspiracy theories, they let the communists off the hook because Oswald was a jealous communist herd, and he hated the United States, and he hated John F. Kennedy, and he hated rich people, and he had
Makes sense.
if you think about motive, nobody had a bigger motive than Oswald and he was mentally ill, and he tried to defect to Russia, and he had spent time in the Marines, so he was a crack shot, and also he had committed violence before. He'd actually gone and tried to assassinate a general who lived in the Dallas area, a military general. So he'd actually tried to commit an assassination before that. And so it was that actually I started down the other rabbit hole, which was to learn that yes, the Warren report made mistakes, that there was no magic bullet. I mean, I saw John F. Kennedy's car in Detroit, the limo, and what they don't tell you is, how they're like, oh, the bullet would have had to twist in the air to hit him and the governor Connolly. But here's the thing. It didn't, because John F. Kennedy was actually elevated in the back seat,
Right.
and he had back problems from his war
Right.
wounds from World War II, so he couldn't lean over, because they had him braced up.
Yeah, I remember they talk. Yeah,
You would have thought, oh, you get shot, you would lean over, but like he was literally like strapped into
the
that
brace.
limousine,
Okay.
so he couldn't bend over. So it was like, once I started reading all this stuff, I was like, oh man, it wasn't a magic bullet. He was elevated. The movie was a liar. Oliver Stone is a communist, and here's the thing: the Russians actually did plant evidence to make it appear like it was our CIA, because they know that like foreign intelligence agencies, especially during the Cold War, they planted conspiracy theories here in the United States to get us to hate our own government, because that's in the communist interests. So the real conspiracy is the Soviet conspiracy that went on, that was behind it, and that's to me
makes sense.
But I'm open to changing my mind and hearing your theory on this.
I too have been to Dallas and to the book depository, to the museum they have set in there. Now I don't get I wasn't getting the feelings like you were from, and I just happened to be on a trip with a bunch of high school kids to go down to Dallas to a Drum Corps International competition where the Dallas Cowboys play football. So we had enough time in our schedule that we could herd the kids around to important things that the people that I was with, who were the music people, to give the kids experience of, anyway, but you're right. It wasn't that big of a area. And,
but you think the CIA was in?
Well, not now, after you've kind of explained more, because I have not done one bit of research or read one bit of information except what I hear.
So I've riled up the conspiracy theorists. Listen to this. Now, I've debunked almost all of these points. He says his head would have had to go forward and to the left if Oswald shot him. That's not true. Actually, you can do an experiment on this. If you were to take a melon and put it on a pedestal and take the bullet and shoot it from behind, the melon would actually come back towards you. Do you know why? The explosion of brains out the front
would come back,
would blow the head back.
Yeah.
So when Kennedy's head was shot, people always think, oh, if you get shot with a bullet, then the bullet would push you forward. But that's not how ballistics work. If you get shot with a bullet, you may not even get knocked over. Like, there's all this conversation in the gun community about something called knockdown power. It's like, oh, I need a bigger caliber because it's going to have more knockdown power. But there's no such thing as like a knockdown power. Like, a bullet goes straight through you, unless it's mushrooms, unless it has like a hollow point, in which case it will stop inside you. But you're not going to get knocked over by a bullet. It's just going to pass through you. But the reason why John F. Kennedy's head went back and to the left is because his brain exploded front and to the right. So the corresponding force would be to push his head back into the left. That's why people always say, well, why did his head go in that direction? Well, it's because it makes a tiny hole in the back where it enters, and it makes a big hole in the front where it exits, and all that gas and explosion of brain water blows the head back. So that's why a lot of people think about, get confused and believe in conspiracy theories, because it's confusing.
Well,
most people don't know ballistics or guns or all that kind of stuff. So anyways, book suppository question. Ouch, says Studio 314. Not a book suppository. Book depository. Did you say suppository?
I might have. You never know. Actually, I can't talk. It's
you said
age.
Book suppository.
Sorry. Gotta have a little humor,
Of course, for sure. We're having a good time today on the Wake Up America show. Good morning. Good morning.
I probably did say that.
You did. You probably said book suppository. Click the like button to subscribe to the channel. Come back and join us here every Monday through Friday from 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. We will be out tomorrow and Friday for the holiday, but come back and join us again next Monday, and we'll be back here on the Freedom Watch here on the Wake Up America show. We got Judge Napolitano joining us in 10 minutes, but this might be a good opportunity to introduce my new changes to the Founding Flavors Coffee Shop. You ready? Okay. So for those of you who are not aware that I have a coffee brand, my wife and I launched this just this year. And we are so excited because we've got all kinds of new changes coming to the coffee shop. Normally you get it in bags But now, founding flavors, and I'm really excited to show you the beautiful new boxes that our coffee comes in. Do you want to grab that there and hold that up for me? There, you can see if you can show it to the people on camera. We have now, if you thought that these were going to be great gifts before, when they came in like lovely little bags, they are now like uber beautiful box packages that will sit up and will make everybody who visits your house for the holiday season jealous because of how gorgeous these package designs are.
They are very, very, very artistically done.
Let's take just a couple of minutes here to talk about the new package designs. As you can see here, this is Benjamin Franklin's Electric Elixir, and here Franklin is at the writing of the Declaration of Independence. And this is all designed by me and my wife Stephanie, and you can see the founding fathers all here. And here's Benjamin Franklin with his electric elixirs. He's drinking coffee as they're writing the Declaration of Independence. And then you can see over here, this is actually, I think this might be Stephanie's favorite one. This is, yeah, that looks nice. Very nice there. This is Adams's Patriotic Perk, and it's got John Adams in front of Boston Harbor. That's our dark roast. Here, you can put that up there. My number one favorite flavor is the Thomas's Painkiller, which you can see him sitting there in his little house with his feather pen quill on the side. Beautiful package designs for people who love coffee. Now, we are a premium coffee blend for people who absolutely love coffee. We are not the cheapest coffee out there, but we are the best. And remember that each one comes with free shipping. So when you buy coffee, you're seeing the price that you see on the website at apforlibertyshop.com is the price that you get. Jeffersonian Java right there that she's got is that light roast with tons of caffeine. So our third president will put a little pep in your step. And you've been to Monticello, have you not?
Yeah. Yes.
Monticello. So
this one here.
That's yes, Jeffersonian Java.
Can I read what it says on the bottom here? It says,
yeah, go ahead.
Jeffersonian Java is a distinct blend harmonizing the intellectual brightness of lemon with the agrarian sweetness, Catholic education, Irish nuns, sweetness of caramel. This concoction is perfect for those who appreciate an intricacy of flavors as profound as Jefferson's own philosophy. Now, who thought up all of these wonderful...
Steffi and I did.
Well, you two smart ones.
Read the other ones.
All right, which one do you want next?
Just go from left to right.
Okay, left to right. Okay.
Which one do you got there?
Experience Painkiller. Okay.
Thomas's Painkiller.
Experience the common sense of flavor with Thomas Painkiller Coffee, a Colombian single origin that's mellow enough to inspire a new age of reason, and with cocoa notes as profound as his principles. One sip will revolutionize your day.
Nice. Thomas's Painkiller. That one sounds good.
Adam's Patriotic Perk.
There we go.
Adam's Patriotic Perk, a full-bodied dark roast, teams with notes of cocoa and toasted nuts, capturing the robustness and complexity of our second president's character. Perfect for a foggy Bostonian morning, best for a coffee drinker who wants a strong, bold flavor.
Nice.
These are just great.
Thank you. Adam's Patriotic Perk.
Electrify your senses with Franklin's Electric Elixir, a medium roast embodying the spark of freedom with its rich hazelnut and caramel notes. A haven of warmth in winter's cold.
Yes, that's what I'm drinking today.
Okay, did we read Jefferson? I think I read that one.
Yes, you read Jefferson's. Okay.
And this one here is, this one here, okay.
That's cute. Betsy Ross.
The ultimate tribute to liberty, a decaf brew as finely crafted as Betsy Ross's renowned flag. Void of the revolutionary rush of caffeine, yet brimming with the grandeur of flavors akin to the spirited debates for our founding fathers.
Yay!
I'm going to have to turn into a coffee drinker. And Washington. Washington's revolutionary roast has flavors as diverse as toffee, dark chocolate, and citrus. Ooh, now that sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
It tastes like Washington crossing the Delaware of
Um,
your palate. Assuredly. It will ignite the Minuteman's march to your gate and paint a constitution wide smile on your visage. These are just great, Austin and Stephanie.
Thank you.
Terrific.
Thank you.
Winning coffee.
Think about that. Wouldn't that be a great gift for somebody who loves freedom and loves coffee?
Absolutely.
Yeah, isn't that neat? So we're so excited about those, and you know, we got the idea for those a couple of months ago, and launched the brand, and so far we've been pretty successful with it. And for a while it was just little bags, and there would be the picture on the front, but now we have a beautiful box, so it's a display. So now when you know, if you have that sitting up on your shelf, you know, people will be like, you know, what would you like for a coffee this morning? Oh, I'll have some electric elixir, you know, and it just, I think it would make
cool.
it, yeah. Imagine like a Christmas gift, you know, a box.
Absolutely.
Somebody opens up those and sees that, and all the coffee. I know you're not a coffee drinker, but they are premium coffee, high quality, and they're sold exclusively at ap4libertyshop.com.
Now you better tell the people what it cost, Austin.
So unfortunately, we're a little bit pricey.
Well, can I guess?
I'm going to be embarrassed because it's probably going to be much higher than you expect.
You don't know. I'm not. Listen.
Okay, so guess how much a box of that costs delivered?
$35.
No. Okay, so it's lower than that.
Well, see?
Okay, I'm not that expensive.
Well, I was just telling you. You thought I was going to say $5. You know,
no.
I know.
It's $23 for a box, but that's delivered.
That can't beat that.
And my hope is that in the next year,
a bag of burgers at McDonald's is $21
for sure. And what I like to do sometimes is, if it's a little too pricey, is to sometimes just like switch off days where I'll have like my a cheaper coffee one day and then this one. But now I'm addicted to it, so I drink it every day. But Founding Flavors coffee is sold exclusively at ap4libertyshop.com. Thank you for the commercial, Edie. We appreciate that.
Yeah,
thank you.
Thank you. It was fun.
Yes, we're going to have fun. We've got Judge Andrew Napolitano coming up next. He's going to talk to us on his thoughts about what he's thankful for this Thanksgiving, and we're going to hear from him what he thinks about Argentina's new president, Javier Milei, when we get back on the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. Goose Lodge in Jamestown, Kansas, your home away from home. Choose the comfort and privacy of our individual rooms, each equipped with its very own locking door and en-suite facilities. Or bring the whole family and make memories in our communal space. Snuggle up on our plush recliners or share a meal around the dining table that comfortably seats 8. Our kitchen is armed with everything you need, from a microwave to a full-size fridge. For a bird's eye view, book the Eagle's Nest. Enjoy the privacy, storage space, and its very own toilet and shower. For just $450 a night, reserve the entire lodge, perfect for reunions or retreats, accommodating up to 8 guests. And remember, Snow Goose Lodge is a haven for kids and dogs alike, so bring the whole family. Book your stay now and get 20% off your first booking using the code WAKEUP.
Expanse of time, a year might seem like a mere moment, but oh, what a year it's been. In September 2022, Austin and Stephanie Peterson embarked on a journey to wake up America. They began humbly, with just 20 souls tuning in, learning, listening, and though challenges arose, like the looming shadow of YouTube demonetization, their spirit never waned. And now, thanks to you, thousands rise with the sun to join them, to listen, to engage, to be a part of a community. So here's to you, and to Wake Up America, for memories shared, for friends made, for the journey ahead, and for never, ever forgetting to rise and freedom. Happy anniversary.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message. Believe me, Austin Peterson is the best. He's got the greatest Wake Up America show I've ever seen. Whenever I tune in the mornings and watch the live stream, let me tell you, he has got the absolute best content. I love his guests. It's just a total blast to watch, and I highly endorse and recommend the Wake Up America show. It's terrific, believe me.
I'm a public defender.
I am a public defender.
I'm proud to be a public defender.
80% of Americans accused of a crime will get appointed a public defender.
Everybody from a speeding ticket to capital murder.
For every dollar we spend on public defenders, we spend $3 on prosecutors.
Public defenders have to do pretty much everything on their own.
Social workers, counselors.
Investigating is another piece of it.
The average public defender.
Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. We're very thankful for you to join us this morning here, the day before Thanksgiving. We hope you have a wonderful holiday season and you and your family find peace and light and joy, and don't overeat too much, even though I definitely plan on doing so. Eating too much and drinking too much. I've gained all the weight that my next guest has lost. My good friend, Judge Andrew Napolitano, who's the host of the Judging Freedom podcast and writes a weekly column at judgenap.com, joining us live. Good morning, Judge.
Good morning, Austin. How are you, my dear friend? I hope you haven't gained as much as I've lost.
Oh, Judge, we have definitely swapped places. In 2010 to 12, when we worked at Freedom Watch, I was slender and beautiful, and you were a bit bigger. But now you're slender and beautiful, and I'm, a bowl full of jelly.
All right. Well, I can't tell. Your face is as handsome and as charming as ever.
Judge, glad to have you here. You've got a column coming out this week. What is there to be thankful for, Judge? And it was a little dark, but, there is, when you think about the holiday season, there is, the ghost of Christmas past, present, and future. So let's hear a little bit about your thoughts of Thanksgiving and your weekly column. Would you mind sharing with us?
Well, sure. So I wrote the column in a style that you helped me perfect back when we were at Fox together. What if, what if, what if? And of course, the answer in my view to every what if is yes, yes, yes. That's right. That's right. And it basically points out that government is the monster, that it doesn't recognize any restraint on its power, that it believes that it is the creator of our rights, that it rejects the concept of rights first, and then comes government. It rejects the concept of the consent of the governed. It certainly rejects the confines of the Constitution. So in a series of about 75 or 80, I actually didn't even count them, what ifs, what ifs, what ifs, I attempt to make that point. Sometimes I've written a very happy, upbeat, jovial Thanksgiving, but I'm not happy this Thanksgiving. I'm happy in my personal life and my professional life and with friends like you, but I'm not happy for what's happening with the government. The wars get worse. The deficit spending gets greater. The regulation is simply over the top. The president is out of it. I don't even know who's running the executive branch of the government. I don't want to get personal about him, but it's kind of obvious.
Judge, there's a running joke in libertarian circles these days. We say, no matter who you vote for, you always get Dick Cheney.
Right. That, right. I heard that same version. Even worse, you always get John McCain. Now, this is funny. McCain and I became very, very good friends on the issue of torture. McCain famously the victim of torture when Senator, I don't want to get too far off the beaten path, but when the late Senator Dianne Feinstein went to the Senate floor and put in the hopper the 6,000-page executive summary of the Senate Intelligence Committee's investigation of the Bush administration's CIA torture. This is after President Obama begged her not to. And of course, if she had gone out in the street and handed it to the New York Times, she would have had a serious problem on her hands because it was secret. But by revealing it on the floor of the Senate, she's protected by the speech and debate clause in the Constitution. Well, when that happened, Shepard Smith, my then colleague and friend at Fox, called me up and said, how fast can you read 6,000 pages? I said, what do you have in mind? He said, we're doing a 1-hour show, no commercial break, you and me on Bush, Cheney, and torture. So I said, well, I can certainly digest the 180-page summary for you and read selected portions, which I did. Shep and I did the program. Management was furious at us. As I'm leaving the building, my phone rings, and it's a 202 number. And I thought it was Jimmy Rosen in the DC office. And the voice goes, Judge Napolitano, for what you just did with Shepard Smith, your reward will not be on earth. It will be in heaven. John McCain? Yes, John McCain.
That's a beautiful story, Judge. And I think it shows that despite the massive disagreements that we may have with some people, that there might be issues on which we can work across the aisle.
Yes.
I mean, we do this
You
sometimes
know-
with Dennis Kucinich and others.
Yes. Roger Ailes always used to say, you got to have friends on both sides of the aisle. You just don't know, or both sides of the court, he used to say, because you don't know which side the ball's going to roll to. But on torture, McCain and I were on the same page. Obviously, God rest his soul, he never met a war he didn't want to fight or didn't want somebody else to fight. And his acolyte today is worse than he was. Lindsey Graham, let's bomb Tehran. He and Nikki Haley. It's just crazy. Nikki Haley, she of the federal government will make it a crime to use a pseudonym on social media. She out of her mind. The Supreme Court has ruled 9-0 that the First Amendment protects the right to anonymous speech.
I love this story, Judge. It's so perfectly timed because I was just getting raked over the coals by a mutual friend of ours the other day because I was trying to explain to some of my libertarian friends that it's probably a good thing to make friends with neocons and with Marxists and with people who don't share our ideas so that we might influence them. And to hear your story about your influence over John McCain, I think really vindicates my position that it's important and wise for us to try and be an influence on people who maybe they largely don't share our views. But if we can help them to inch more towards libertarianism or libertarian policies, then we certainly, I think, would be better off. But
you are 100% correct. I mean, this conversation with McCain was one of many that we had on many issues. I mean, we sat next to each other on a long flight once, and that's really where we bonded, and we talked about things we agreed on and things we disagreed on. I have a lot of friends who are furious that I have friends on the left, friends who are atheists, friends who hate the Catholic Church, friends who hate libertarian views, friends who think we're crazy. They're still my friends. I still like them.
I love it, Judge. I love it. That is it's so necessary because my concern, and this is very, very inside baseball thing, but I do want to move on to more broader politics. My concern is that the libertarian movement becomes inbred to a certain extent, where we are so inwardly faced and so inwardly focused that we're unable to see the broader picture and to sort of say, well, for example, I love Murray Rothbard and Friedrich Hayek and Ludwig von Mises, but I also really like Milton Friedman, despite his mistakes he made with withholding and some of the other proposals, negative income tax, things that
I am 100% with you. I'm going to tell you one other crazy, funny story. I'm waiting for Roger Ailes in his outer office. He has asked to see me. I don't know what it's about. The door to his personal private office opens, and who walks out? Rachel Maddow. And he goes to me, don't you tell an effing soul that she was here. Well, now she is where she is. He's in heaven. I can tell the story. And he looked at me, he goes, you got to have friends all over the place, Judge.
Yeah, it's true,
Mark
Judge.
my words.
It's true. Wow. I think I admire you even more, Judge, hearing you say that. I didn't know that if that would be possible, but it certainly is. Now, speaking of having friends across the aisle, Judge, we don't have to worry about having a friend across the aisle or worried about influencing the incoming president of Argentina because he is, Javier Milei, the new president of Argentina, an anarcho-capitalist, Austrian economist who is one of us. I saw this the other day and my heart exploded with joy because despite the fact that we should be cautious, right, for anybody who's a politician, and there's reasons to be skeptical because if he does fail, then it might tar us all with that brush. But never in history, Judge, has an open libertarian ever been president of any country ever? I wonder if you feel the same way as I do. What are your thoughts on the election of Javier
Uh,
Milei?
I I I feel this is going to bore your audience because we keep agreeing on everything.
It's the
I
holidays.
feel exactly as you do. I am ecstatic at his election. This is not some authoritarian that wants to clamp down on the deep state. This is not some secret big government guy pretending to be small government. This is the real deal. If he fails, we'll have to look at the reasons for the failure. If he succeeds, this should spread like wildfire because he believes, as we do, in the primacy of the individual, in the essential intellectual dishonesty of government, and he believes that that government is best which governs least. That the engine of our prosperity should be the choice of investors, workers, and consumers, and not central bankers, and that wars should only be fought as an absolute necessity and for defensive purposes. I don't know how else I can say it. We've never had anybody like this in America, not even Jefferson. God have mercy on me for criticizing Jefferson.
It's true.
Your audience is on audio with me, with us. They know I just made the sign of the cross for criticizing Jefferson.
It's true, Judge. It's
But no,
true.
this guy is absolutely the real deal. He is as thoroughly versed in political philosophy of Murray Rothbard and economic philosophy of Friedrich von Hayek and Ludwig von Mises as you and I are, maybe even better. I can't claim to have read everything that von Mises wrote. Some of it is rather abstruse, but that's his field. The president of Argentina, Austrian economics.
I like to joke that if he does fail, Judge, all we have to do is just say, well, that wasn't real libertarianism. Real libertarianism has never been tried, right?
If he fails, we'll blame it on his wig. Oh,
they're calling him Trump-like. They're saying that he is far right, Judge. I think the world doesn't know or understand yet who we are or understand where our
you're
philosophy flows
exactly
from.
right. You're exactly right. There's not an ounce of libertarian blood in Trump's veins, and there's not an ounce of big government, far right authoritarianism in Javier Milei's veins. And the press just confuses things either to tarnish and to raise the bar so that they can claim he failed, to put him in a corner, paint him as something he's not. I'm kind of sick and tired of all of that. And I really, because for me, it goes in one ear and out the other, but not for a lot of people, not for people who are intelligent, but don't go beneath the surface and think this is some hard right character.
Right. They want to try and paint him as some kind of a fascist, right? To make the left think that it's a dog whistle to try and make libertarians out as if we're Nazis or something. But
Right.
but if Javier succeeds, Judge, this could be the spark that the liberty movement has needed for quite some time. A great libertarian hope to show the world that our principles can be enacted, that we can live under the ideals of economic freedom and personal liberty. This might just be what we need to show the world that our ideas have merit.
Yes. Yes. You know, it's different from America, considering what Argentina's been through. There's a deep strain of Peronism, which has made its way into the Vatican, unfortunately, since Pope Francis is from Argentina and was raised in that era. But you know, this was not a squeaker. This was not he won the electoral college but didn't win the popular vote. This was an overwhelming endorsement by the public of this man who had never held office before, preaching Rothbardianism, Jeffersonianism, and Austrian economics.
If you're just tuning into the Wake Up America show, good morning. I'm your host, Austin Peterson. We're glad and grateful to have you here. Please click the like button and subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying the content that you're hearing this morning. I'm speaking to my good friend, Judge Andrew Napolitano, and he's the host of the Judging Freedom podcast, which I highly recommend that you download on any of your mobile devices and read his weekly column at judgenap.com. Well, if we're thankful for anything this year, Judge, I'm certainly thankful for the election of Javier Milei on the political level. Certainly a bright spot in a world, a sea of an ocean of darkness as war is spreading across the globe, and as inflation eats away at our savings and home ownership becomes a dream for people of my generation and younger. There's a lot to be critical of. But on a personal level, there's a lot to be thankful for. Judge, you were telling me about your parents and the birthday of your mother, I believe, that 99 years old. I find this to be fascinating. I'm quite jealous of you, of course. My mother passed when I was very young. But to be at your age as you are and to still have your parents, you must be very thankful.
Well, my father passed away 5 years ago, and my mother's going to kill you. She's 98, not 99.
98.
Right. So, but I say to her, Mother, you're 98. That means this is your 99th Thanksgiving. And she goes, no, it's my 98th Thanksgiving. No, it's your 99th. Well, why do you have to make me sound older than I am? Ma, at your age, this is a tribute to you. She, I don't want to bore you with this.
No.
She fell and cracked a bone in her leg around Labor Day, and it has healed beyond the wildest imaginings of this orthopedic surgeon that has taken care of her, and she's back to walking and hopping around and happy as can be. And we'll all be together tomorrow on Thanksgiving.
That's wonderful, Judge. Well, I'm thankful for you. I mean, my interactions with you and our long friendship in the Liberty Movement began circa 2007, 2008, when I was reading passages from your book, Nation of Sheep, on the subway in New York City, and was learning about you and your philosophy and how it coincided with Congressman Ron Paul, who inspired me to get active in politics. Judge, there were moments, there were days when I, like a crazy man, like a street preacher, would read aloud passages from your book on the subway to the passersby and ask if anybody wanted information cards on Ron Paul, like a crazy person.
Well, that I never knew. I mean, I know that you are strident in your views, and some people thought you were crazy. Of course, we worked with some characters, but I didn't know you were reading things aloud on the subways and the streets.
Like a crazy person. Because of course I was registered to vote in New York City at the time. So I was trying to get people registered to vote, introducing them to Ron Paul, giving them passages from your book, and learning about you. And, after that, I studied your career, watched your shows on television and your appearances on Fox. At the time, you had the show Freedom Watch, which was a podcast like the one we're on right now. And I remember when I was working at the Libertarian Party, that we came into contact, I believe, because your producer at the time saw that I was promoting you, and you reached out to me and invited me to New York City. And you probably still remember that day, when we first met, 40 stories above Times Square, and
sitting on that green couch in my office. I remember it as if it were yesterday.
Yes,
and it began a beautiful, lifelong professional collaboration and personal friendship, for which I am deeply and profoundly grateful and always will be.
And we did battle with John Bolton and the former Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld. Remember the interviews?
And I don't want to say exactly what you did. And Rick Santorum.
I'll tell that story when you're gone, Judge, so that people don't have to hear it. But how I pranked Rick Santorum. Yes,
this day wants to wring my neck. I didn't know anything about this.
You had no idea.
The show after I left.
Oh, Judge, I was a troublemaker for sure. But I'll tell that story about my prank on Rick Santorum afterwards. But we had some great times, and it shaped who I was. And of all of the intellectual influences in my life, you loom the largest. I think more than Ron Paul, of course, because I've actually worked with you and known you personally. And we've seen a lot of changes in your career, and you've certainly been a huge celebrity and someone who's advised and counseled presidents like Donald Trump. I mean, there must be some bright spots, Judge, that you look at, especially looking back at your career. I mean, you've left an incredible legacy of books, an intellectual legacy, one that that I could only strive to accomplish a quarter of. But can you tell us before we let you go, Judge, what are you thankful for, perhaps personally or professionally?
Oh, I've been given a lot of gifts. I mean, the opportunity to be on national television 5 or 6 times a day for 24 years at Fox, and before that at CNBC when Roger Ailes was the president of CNBC, and since then and now at Newsmax, the phenomenal, mind-boggling success of my podcast, Judging Freedom. I was down in the dumps a few years ago because people were saying awful things about me, none of which were true, all of which were dismissed and went away. And I'm climbing up out of that hole and just about out of it by now. And grateful for intellect and energy, grateful to God. I still go to Mass every day and give thanks for the gifts that I've received, and none of which are merited, but all of which are welcomed.
Judge, do you have anything else that you'd like to share with our listeners? Perhaps a preview of any of your content you might be releasing today or the rest of the week?
I have the great Professor John Mearsheimer on today. Got a very interesting theory about the influence of President Xi and China in the Hamas-Israeli conflict. And I have Phil Giraldi. Phil is the CIA agent who told George W. Bush that Saddam Hussein did not have weapons of mass destruction. Bush threw him out of the Oval Office, and Phil resigned. He has some very, very interesting things to talk about the team and the head of the team that Joe Biden has sent to Jerusalem and Tel Aviv to work with Prime Minister Netanyahu. I'll give you a hint. Can a person represent the United States with another country when they're the citizen of that other country? Does Joe even know this? Does Joe even know this?
Well, we'll look forward to finding out on your show, Judge, which people can download on any mobile device. Judge, love you. Happy Thanksgiving. Thank you for everything you've given us this year and your time and your energy and your intellect. Thank you for standing tall for freedom. We appreciate you.
Oh, God bless you. Right back at you. Have a great holiday. See you next Wednesday. And my love to your beautiful bride.
Thank you very much. That's Judge Andrew Napolitano. Did we enjoy his interview? Send us a text at 573-319-1586. Again, you can text the show. Let us know what's on your mind at 573-319-1586 is the text line. Joining us here live in studio is the lovely Edie Vogel. You okay there, Edie?
Well, I got a little frog in my throat, so I hope I didn't interrupt anything on your broadcast.
I actually, once you started, I hit the mute button, so it was no problem. Okay. I just asked the judge a question, and then I hit the mute button, and then let it go.
And that's why I got to get out of here because you're not going to listen. I've had this stuff for 3 weeks, and today, the crud.
You got the crud.
Great interview.
Thank you.
I really like him a lot.
Well, he's a Catholic like you.
Yeah, right? And I think I know that he loves the old rite, which is the Latin rite, Latin Mass.
The pre-Vatican II.
Yes. And when he spoke of the Holy Father being Argentinian, and I won't disagree with him 100% that, it's just, our church is in kind of a mess right now. And,
well, it is a problem though, if you're a conservative Catholic, to have to deal with Pope Francis because, he is the vicar of Christ on earth. And therefore your hands are tied to an extent.
Well, it doesn't make any sense to me as what I call myself a cradle Catholic. That means I was born a Catholic, generations back of Catholicism in my family. And all of a sudden, the Holy Father is telling me that I have to change my philosophy and my thought process of some of the values in our faith that we were raised with and taught were the deposit of faith, which he's trying to change.
Doesn't he have that authority?
I think there's controversy in there because there is a group of cardinals who are trying to call him on the carpet about it. But I guess, but I've always been taught that he is human. He's not divine. And we're still trying to function church in the divine institution of our faith, which was handed down from Christ to the apostles. And now the present day apostles are our college of cardinals, and the bishops who are all over the world to try to continue that deposit of faith. And all of a sudden, you get a guy in there who's telling you, well, we're going to change this. I just can't go along with it. I just, I'm
not going along with it.
But I mean, it's troubling to.
I refuse to go along with Pope Francis's agenda.
It's very troubling, and so you have to walk a fine line in regards to, hey, look, I'm trying to prepare myself for eternity, and that in our faith process, that is, you have two choices: heaven or hell. Okay, and I'm trying to get to heaven.
I'm trying to go to hell, baby, because that's where all my friends are.
Okay, but that's why I like the judge, because he's
Is there nothing sacred, Austin? No.
He's just faith oriented toward the same mindset that I have.
I exactly, and I love the judge and you, because you are not the kind of fundamentalists that are exclusionary to the concept that you can agree with someone and not share their faith, right? It's I don't feel like you want to commit a what do they call it when they chop people's heads off back in the day? When the church did the what was it called?
Oh gosh,
not the Holocaust, but close
persecution.
Yeah,
and,
but what was it called?
Martyrdom.
No, but what was it when the Catholic Church did the whole the Inquisition? Remember that, the Inquisition? I appreciate that you all are Inquisitionists.
even in the suppository of
the church.
That's what it seems like sometimes.
In the suppository of the church,
right.
Who committed the Inquisition in the church suppository?
Well, like I said, if you're gonna get to talk about the war in Israel and the Hamas and the Gaza, I mean,
who you got in that, by the way?
That whole thing just.
Okay, who you got? Whose back you got on that one?
Israel has been there. I mean, I just don't understand why.
No shit.
I mean,
Israel has been in the land of Israel since.
Well, I mean, since Christ.
I mean, since Judea, since before Christ.
Yeah.
BC,
before Christ.
BC, yeah, the land of Judea. Before that, Canaan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm going to give you the right thing. As we, as a Catholic, I don't know the Bible front and back like Baptist and other.
And agnostics.
Well, but I think I just feel like that this whole thing, especially coming from, and we talked about it earlier about the students, revolting against. I just don't get that. I just, it doesn't make any sense.
Makes no sense.
No.
You ready to talk about something else?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I got off track there.
It's totally fine. Totally fine. How's everybody doing out there this morning? Can we get a like and a subscribe? Like and subscribe to the channel. I'm Austin Peterson. I'm joined by my friend Edie Vogel, who's joining us here for the pre-Thanksgiving holiday special. You have never had to spend Thanksgiving alone or have a holiday alone or anything like that. You've been blessed, fortunate enough to not have had to be alone on a holiday, I guess.
Yeah, I could say that, but I think I mentioned earlier today that there are times when it wouldn't bother me to be alone.
Oh, really?
I mean, I live alone, and I just I don't depend on people to entertain me, and family is important, but I just know, but I do know there are people that are alone.
Yeah. I have never had to spend Christmas alone, thankfully. I have had Thanksgivings, probably not where I was alone, but where I felt alone just because I wasn't with my
Oh, yeah,
family.
you were doing something
I
else, or
was on
yeah.
on the East Coast, and maybe I couldn't afford to go home,
Mm-hmm.
so
Mm-hmm.
well, I would do.
No, I've
Or
never had that.
if I had like a girlfriend, then I would do like a friendsgiving kind of a thing. But I never had the kind of experience where I was like completely solitary.
Yeah.
Maybe once I might have had a Thanksgiving where I was all alone. But there is that danger for some people as these holiday storms are threatening our Thanksgiving plans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you? There's nothing you can do about it. It's
Mhm.
Mother Nature, and who to judge?
Yeah, so the cross-country storm that we have right now is unleashing heavy rain on the East Coast, targeting major travel hubs like
Okay.
Atlanta, Washington, D.C., and New York City. So Sunday is one of the busiest travel days of the year. Weather may impact those who are hitting the road and heading to the airport after Thanksgiving. I was talking to my wife last night. We were giving the dogs a bath, getting them all cleaned up before the family gets into town, and trimming their nails and make sure they're all pretty because the doggies like to be up in everybody's face and to be friends with everybody. So we want them to smell pretty and clean and not scratch people up. Because look at this giant. See this?
That's from your dog.
That's from my dog. Yeah, this just nasty bruise. So we fixed him up last night, and I was asking Stephanie. I was like, "Have you ever like what were some of your favorite Thanksgiving memories, or what were some of your favorite holiday memories?" And she said she loved dressing up like pilgrims and Indians as kids. But in terms of like what was her happiest holiday memories, she actually said that her happiest holiday memories are now with me as even though like she did have a family growing up like mother and father, but she says that now these are the happiest
Oh, you've
memories.
moved on. She's found happiness with you,
Hmm.
and your environment, and your. I mean, that's normal.
Right. Well, she said she's never been happier. I've never been happier, but I think if I'm looking back on my holiday memories, um I'll talk about Christmas first. My grandmother, grandfather, everybody would come over to our house and spend the night on Christmas Eve. And Grandpa would pretend to be Santa Claus, and we had a bell that he would ring in the morning, and it was a Christmas bell, and he would ring the bell. We'd hear ho ho ho, and the door would slam shut. And then we would run downstairs and we'd say, Grandpa, Grandpa, did you see Santa Claus? And he's like, yo, you just missed him. He was there, and our Grandpa Bill loved us kids so much, intensely, dearly. And Grandma Hazel was there, and our cousins would come over on Christmas Eve, and we would have two Christmases because we would then go to the other grandparents' house. And I wondered. I look back and I think because that doesn't happen anymore. Grandparents are all gone, and cousins have all moved away, and some have passed on, and my aunts and uncles, and some of them have passed on even in the past year. And I wonder, when was the last time that I was at grandma's house and we were all together? And you never think about that. Like, when is it going to be the last time that we are actually going to be there? Because you don't appreciate it at the time. It may have been when I
Mhm.
was about 13, maybe 14 years old, that may have been the last time. And I remember, you'd be like, oh, you had your video game and you wanted to go home and play it or something like that. But now it's kind of like you think about Ebenezer Scrooge, right? And it's like, if you could be visited by the ghost of Christmas past, present, and possibly future, would you look back and wish that you could just have one more day with grandma and grandpa? Would you wish that you had one more day? Would you savor that holiday and not leave and tell them how much you love them? Like, do you have holiday memories like that?
Oh, absolutely.
Tell us about your holiday memories.
Well, I didn't. My grandmother on my father's side, her husband died in 1929, so we didn't know our grandfather Vogel. And on my mother's side, my grandfather Marshall, he died in 1960, so I was 10 years old when he passed away. But my mother was an only child, and my father had 5 sisters. So our family life was revolved around my aunts and my dad's sisters. So Christmas Eve, as long as I can remember from a time of farming memory, was that we would go, and we called her Momo, and we would go to Momo's house. And when you speak of Santa Claus, we had a Santa Claus come and visit us, and there would have been, at that time, there was all total grandchildren for her 16, and she lived in a big 2-story house that she built with my grandfather's insurance from his passing away, and had apartments upstairs, and took in laundry after Grandpa died to make, to live, to have an income. And her one daughter, my Aunt Millie, was single and lived with her. And every Christmas Eve, we'd go down to Momo and Mills. And Christmas Day then was spent with my grandmother and her sister in the house that I live in now. So it was just my siblings and my mother and my dad, and on my mom's side. So we were lucky to have experienced 2 different Christmases with 2 different people. Like down at Momo's, the main meals were always roast beef or baked chicken, or and it was all put on the table. And it was kind of like a free-for-all with that, with all the kids. They just grab a plate and eat wherever they could. Up at my house with my grandmother on my mother's side, with my grandmother, everything was formally done. The silver came out, the china came out, the crystal came out. You had to sit at the table. You had to use every manners that Grandma had taught you. And then the food was a little bit different because she liked to do a lot of casseroles. You'd always have a meat, but there'd be all the side dishes would be.
Do you cook turkey? Do you cook?
My sister Emily, who's passed away, was the main ramrod after my grandmother's passed away, and my dad would, and he died real young, so he would cook the turkey, and we would have some of the elderly cousins come to the house. So yes, I have very fond memories of Christmas. And this time of year, it brings you back to those. You're a lot younger than me, and I know you lost your mom at a young age, but your memories, I think, go back to, like you're saying, your grandparents, and then and now you're farming your own memories. And but like you said, I'm going to tell you, I have no problem with being alone by myself after I've shared a meal with my folks. And we get together, and because it's a house full of people, and like I said, there's no babies anymore. Well, my nephew Jake has got all babies, so being the youngest one of all of the kids, he's got the youngest ones. But the oldest ones are in college. My great nieces and nephews, they're already in college. So and there's my sister had 5 sons, and they're married, and they've got 10 grandchildren between them.
I'm reading this story. Apparently, one of the more popular destinations on Thanksgiving, other than just family and travel to home, is the emergency room.
Well, that wouldn't surprise me, because you get a large group of people together.
There's usually a light volume on Thanksgiving Day, but post-Thanksgiving dinner, they see a surge in the ER. With all the slicing, dicing, and carving taking place in the kitchen, injuries
in the kitchen.
Yes, a lot of cuts in the ER, right?
Now, I don't have any memories of any of that happening in any of my family affairs.
People slicing their hands open on a can of cranberry sauce. Imagine slicing your hand open on a can of cranberry sauce. Womp womp.
Oh boy!
Burns caused by out of control flames in the kitchen.
Yeah.
I had to remind
fire.
We had a fire on our grill the other day. I had to remind Stephanie about the difference between a grease fire and a regular fire, because I was like, Stephanie, now if that had happened and you had been here alone, what would you have done to put that out? And she's like, put water on it. I was like, no, do not put water on it. No. So we've had to have like a reminder of our
Well, we go through that cycle.
Safety.
I don't know if people are still frying their turkey out on their deck and catching their decks.
Yes. I like fried turkey.
And I have a feeling that might be involved with a little bit too much alcohol.
As it ought to be. People in the chat are talking about their voodoo rangers and reminded me of you.
I will tell you, I do not remember any family occasion where people had too much to drink. And there was always, they'd like to serve that glass of wine, and I'm talking about, some little, and I can remember that, but nobody really got all intoxicated.
We didn't either, but because we were so like puritanical, we didn't have alcohol at our gatherings.
There you go.
And stuff like that. Now we do, just because my brother and I, we like to drink a little bit. But nobody ever gets drunk or sloshed or plastered or anything at our gatherings, just because it's not tradition.
Well, and I don't care what anybody says, always ends up in some kind of a fight.
if there's drinking,
yeah,
yes,
and
well, that's one of the things in this article is the reasons why people end up in the ER, because people overindulge, they get food poisoning, gastritis. They also they talk about alcohol contributing to the ER visits, right? Falls, cuts, head injuries, and fractures from people drinking too much.
Yeah.
After the holiday, so heart palpitations, that's another one, right? Because the stress.
Yeah.
A lot of people are stressed out on the holiday season, right? They get anxiety, they get panic attacks, especially because people get into arguments and stuff. And like when you get around the family,
politics and religion, don't start talking about it at a family event.
61% of people said they don't want politics at Thanksgiving this year. The problem, of course, is that like when people ask me like, how's work? It's like, how do I avoid it? Right. I'm like, good. It's just, I'm doing the podcast.
It's just me.
I try and talk about like the coffee business, but then it's about the founding fathers, which is inherently political to an extent. Right. So unfortunately, people are like, no, well, I didn't like this guy or that guy. And it's like, I would love to not talk about politics if it wasn't like my career. Of course, it's hard to avoid.
That's right. That's right.
It's true. Heart palpitations, car accidents. Another big one, sending people to the ER. So increased road traffic, bad weather, increased traffic accidents. Obviously, don't drink and drive.
Yeah. I mean, and I think over the last couple of years, we've gotten away from that sober chauffeur thing. And
we need to go back. Designated drivers.
Yeah. And I speak for myself. I mean, I like during the week, I have a couple of cocktails out and I just kind of set my knowing that two's my limit.
People in the chat say that when they drink Voodoo Rangers, they think of you.
I mean, I could tell you if you want to get a quick buzz, 2 or 3 of those will do it immediately.
Yeah, I like Tank 7.
I do too. I like the IPA beers, but you can only drink and you really need to be sitting at home in your house when you're doing that.
Exactly. Yeah. Have you tried weed yet?
No.
Since we legalized it?
No. I still have. I do get a big kick out of driving by the 2 dispensaries here in town, both down on Missouri Boulevard, especially on weekends. And they have the one has the drive-through.
They make suppositories.
And between I knew you were going to get me with that. I'm sorry.
It's all right. It's all good.
But my thing, I think the last time I was on, I was trying to figure out how much does it cost to go to one of these dispensaries, and
it's expensive.
That's what I kind of thought. And somebody said, well, it depends on what kind of grade you want, and blah 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 blah. So I said, well, it's just and then they said, well, what your pleasurable thing is if you like to drink. And I said, okay, I'll give you that. But
it's your vice.
I just feel like that the drugs that are offered to the people, I still can't I don't know. It isn't my cup of tea.
It's okay. I mean, you never know until you try it.
One time a police officer basically said, though, that he's glad that we have marijuana for the folks that take it for their physical pain versus them trying to go to get the fentanyl
right
on the street, and it kills them.
Right. Well, here and that's one of the reasons why I believe in legalization.
And I took that to heart that night when he talked about that. And it was our chief of police here in Jefferson City speaking to our Republican club about stuff like that.
I love to hear that, Edie. Yeah, you guys Republicans are becoming more libertarian by the day.
And I kind of, after I left that, and I said, that guy's got it right. He's.
It's not just some crazy stoner libertarian telling it to you, right? It's the chief of police.
Right.
You love to see it. You love to see it. The Wake Up America show is streaming live every Monday through Friday here, 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. We're running up towards the end of our show this morning. I'm your host, Austin Peterson. We're glad to have Edie Vogel in studio with us today.
It's been a lot of fun this morning.
It's been fun.
Yeah. Thank you for asking me.
Of course. I thought since it's the holiday season that we want to have a familiar face on here.
Yeah.
And I knew people would enjoy it, especially all of the new people who are here who haven't been introduced to you. But you and I, we've known each other now for a few years because I used to be the radio personality for the talk show of Jefferson City, Missouri. And you had a regular spot with me on the radio.
Yeah. About once a month at least. Or,
Yeah, or like sometimes it's like
every
bi-weekly.
week.
Yeah, for a while we were doing it every
good.
week.
Yeah, we had them going, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. And then I left the radio
Uh-huh.
and came to work for myself here, and I'm still in Jefferson City. And I'm glad to have you back here on the show. Now it's a national show, so we
Yes.
talk about
Yeah.
more national issues.
Yeah.
But since I thought to myself, as this is a holiday, we need to be thinking closer to home. So that's why I reached out to you today. And all of the old friends of the show who are here with us today are glad to have you here as well. And for all the new friends here, this is Edie Vogel, and she's been a Jefferson City Councilwoman. And she has run for office multiple times in her career. So she's a local politico and a luminary, and we appreciate that she's here joining us. I think of Edie. I think she's a Trumper, right? She's MAGA, and I'm a Libertarian Republican, and we have a lot in common, which is it's fun to kind of see the overlap between the two of us.
I just want to add that say that I'm also I just believe in the Constitution of the United States. And unfortunately, in the last 4 years, 3.5 years, the Constitution has been tossed aside. And the big thing that bothers me the most about that happening is all these elected officials, when they win an election and they take an oath of office, and it's always said in there to defend the Constitution of the United States and the statutes of the state of Missouri and the statutes of the city of Jefferson. And the next thing you know, they're off in no land, and they're not doing anything that has to do with the way our government is established constitutionally. And I don't know what Argentina, if they have a constitution or not, but obviously the United States is the youngest of all
the countries.
Yeah, that have had some form of government, good, bad, or ugly. And I still think we have to keep the fact that the Constitution is the only thing that's keeping us from total chaos.
I agree. And so you come from that MAGA Republican view. I come from a Libertarian Republican view. I completely agree with you about the Constitution. I believe in the primacy of the individual. I believe in the United States of America as an experiment in republicanism, smaller republicanism. And I think that if we can focus on the areas where we agree, and if we can find reasonable areas where we disagree to try and meet in a healthy middle. So like when you talk, for example, about drug legalization and are coming to a realization on that, you've moved in my direction a little bit on that, which is good. But maybe one day I might convince you that we need to probably legalize recreational cocaine.
I mean, what can you say?
For the same
reasons. Might not see it in my lifetime, but for your lifetime, I think that probably will happen.
Yeah, it's not because I want to do cocaine, but because I don't want to cut with fentanyl and given to kids.
I do need a little bit more education in the judge's reference to, and you also referenced it this morning, Austrian economics.
Oh yes, I'm glad you brought that up.
Well, because
we could talk about that for hours.
Well, I just can you give me a Cliff Note version of why that you and the judge are using that terminology this morning in regards to the election of the Argentinian? Yes.
Thank you for asking
You're
that
welcome.
wonderful question, a brilliant question. If more Americans asked that question, Edie, this world would be a better place.
Okay, that's what I thought.
So there's different schools of economics.
And trust me, I am not a scholar.
No, it's okay.
I barely passed high school because I was partying too much. But I do have a desire in my old age to try to learn a little bit of the stuff that you're teaching or talking about.
That warms my cold libertarian heart to hear you say that.
All right.
So there are different schools of economics, right? You may have heard of Adam Smith. You might have heard of. Let me try and think of an economist that everybody's heard of. Well,
you mentioned
Marxists have economics, right? Marxist economics. Communism has an economic school behind it called Marxism.
Now, the Nietzsche guy?
Nietzsche, he was a philosopher,
Okay.
and some economists are philosophers, right?
But did he lean toward the communistic?
No, Nietzsche led more. He was an atheist, but he was more.
Okay.
But he was more of an individualist.
Okay.
And Nietzsche actually was close to more like Ayn Rand. Ayn Rand is very close to Austrian in the sense that the reason they call this Austrian economic, it's free market economics. You could think of Austrian economics as just pure free market economics. So Milton Friedman,
I've heard his name.
You've heard his name, right? He created his own economic school that's very similar to Austrian economics, and his was called monetarism. But Austrian economics was founded by a gentleman by the name of Ludwig von Mises. And Mises was an Austrian Jew who fled the Nazis in the 1940s and came to the United States and brought his free market capitalist school of thinking to the United States.
Okay.
The United States, when we were founded, was heavily influenced by the ideals of John Locke, Adam Smith, and other individualist economists of the 1700s. And so their ideas were what influenced the early American Republic. But it wasn't until the 1940s that the Austrians, like Ludwig Mises and Friedrich Hayek, came to the United States and brought with them a purer form of capitalism. So before we had the Austrians, we had Adam Smith, and we had John Locke, and we had a philosophy view, right? And of course, Karl Marx, and communism was on the rise as well. So capitalism being opposed to communism, the Austrian economic view is a pure. Have you ever heard the term laissez-faire? Let it go, free hand,
yes,
like free hand. So Austrian economics is pure free market capitalism. And so the economists who pioneered these ideas were the people who were behind Ronald Reagan.
Okay.
And Margaret Thatcher. As a matter of fact, Margaret Thatcher, when she took over the role of governance, she famously went to her cabinet and took a copy of, it was either Mises or Hayek, and it was his book called The Road to Serfdom. And she slammed it down on the desk and she said, "This is what we believe." And it was a sign that the West, the United States, and the UK would be turning towards a more pure free market view of things. Javier Milei is even more radical than Austrian in the sense that he is not only a pure capitalist, but he is also a no government capitalist, meaning that you and I believe in the Constitution, right? So we believe in a limited government.
Right.
An anarcho-capitalist believes in
no government.
So what do we do? Because you and I, we basically believe that the role of government is to protect individual rights.
Yes.
Cops.
Yes.
Courts.
Yes.
Nukes.
Yes.
Military.
Right.
And pretty much nothing
else.
That's it.
That's right.
Stay the hell out of everything else.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Right. No Department of Transportation or anything, that kind of stuff.
Department of Education.
Right. No Department of Education. None of that stuff. Okay. So an anarcho-capitalist says that police should be private. Courts should be private. And military should be private. So essentially that they are devolving and decentralizing to the point to where every individual is responsible for
themselves.
For their own security, they're adjudicating disputes between the two of them. We have to hire a court. You have to go and find an adjudicator between the two. I don't go that far. I stop at what is called minarchism, not anarchism. It's called minarchism. So a minimal state, right? A constitutional minarchist is what I am.
So at right now, our country, I feel like we're on the cusp of going into the
anarchist
versus the
minarchist,
which is what you and I kind of feel like we.
So your view, what I would describe you as is to be the closest that I have. You're a populist. And you're I would call you a conservative populist or a better term might be, since you're actually very libertarian leaning, I would consider you to be something of a conservatarian, right? So you're conservative in your social views and your private values, right? Whereas I'm actually very liberal in my private values and my my
I
views.
get, and I would agree with you on. I see that in you.
Yes.
No offense.
No, that's fine.
And that's good.
Right. But our views are not in conflict with one another
No.
because largely, I think you would not use the government to force people, just like I would not use government to force my views on people.
No.
So you and I, we basically bump up against one another on the path towards where we're headed, which is anarcho-capitalism, if you will. So anarchy capitalism, no government, minarchism, limited government, classical liberalism, maybe a little social safety net, maybe a little welfare for crazy people, insane asylums and things like that, cops, courts, and nukes. From there, conservatism and limited government conservatism. Past that, neoconservatism, George Bushism, and things like that. And from there, moving on towards socialism, progressivism, statism, authoritarianism, fascism, Nazism, communism.
Yeah, I get it. Okay.
So on the opposite end of from anarchy capitalism is authoritarian communism, state socialism, Nazism, fascism. We're way on the other side of the spectrum. We're towards Javier Milei. He's to my right, you're just to my left, and we're basically bumped up at the end towards as limited government as you can get, you and I, while still having a government, while still having police, courts, and nukes. Have I explained?
Yes.
And Austrian economics.
Yeah, it's just a broad term for the way things should be.
Damn right it is. It basically is liberty.
Liberty.
It's a school of thought using numbers to explain how capitalism makes us all free. How capitalism, liberty, how free markets in industrial capitalism allows us all to provide for flourishing. So it helps us.
Personal responsibility.
Exactly. Individualism.
And individualism.
Free markets.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's been a wonderful show. I would have never expected that we'd be talking about anarcho-capitalism and Austrian economics.
Well, I mean, one thing leads to another. I do have a brain. It might be pea-sized, but it's there, and we have to keep it going. I mean, I'm not, like I said, I'm not a scholar. I'm not a PhD, but I sure enjoy.
I'm not either.
I sure enjoy asking the questions, and even if they come out wrong, or
no, it's a great question. Great questions.
That's just kind of.
Quest Fanning dropped $5 in the tip jar for Thanksgiving. Thank you, Quest. Appreciate that. Anybody else wants to support the show, you can do so as well, or visit ap4libertyshop.com. That's AP, the number 4, libertyshop.com. Check out all of our awesome new coffees, guys. Aren't they beautiful?
They sure are nice, folks.
Check them out.
Make a wonderful Merry Christmas gift.
Absolutely. Imagine anybody in your life who loves freedom and who loves the Founding Fathers getting a beautiful box of Founding Flavors coffee, like Revolutionary Roast and others. Go and get them today because we want to get that order in and beat the rush for the holiday package deliveries.
Better than a fruitcake.
Yes. AP for Liberty, much better than fruitcake for sure. ap4libertyshop.com. Edie, anything you want to say to people before we go?
Well, I just wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving tomorrow and the rest of the weekend. And I hope if you're traveling that you make it to your destination safely and that the government doesn't interfere with that. But remember, it's always in somebody else's hands, and that's the God Almighty.
That's for sure. We're going to see you guys on next Monday. We're off tomorrow and Friday to spend time with our loved ones, and we'll see you back on Monday here on the Wake Up America Show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Let's dance.
Are we done?
Almost.
Expanse of time, a year might seem like a mere moment, but oh, what a year it's been. In September 2022, Austin and Stephanie Peterson embarked on a journey to wake up America. They began humbly, with just 20 souls tuning in, learning, listening, and though challenges arose, like the looming shadow of YouTube demonetization, their spirit never waned. And now, thanks to you, thousands rise with the sun to join them, to listen, to engage, to be a part of a community. So here's to you, and to Wake Up America, for memories shared, for friends made, for the journey ahead, and for never, ever forgetting to rise and freedom. Happy anniversary.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message. Believe me, Austin Peterson is the best. He's got the greatest Wake Up America show I've ever seen. Whenever I tune in the mornings and watch the live stream, let me tell you, he has got the absolute best content. I love his guests. It's just a total blast to watch, and I highly endorse and recommend the Wake Up America show. It's terrific, believe me.
I'm a public defender.
I am a public defender.
I'm proud to be a public defender.
80% of Americans accused of a crime will get appointed a public defender.
Everybody from a speeding ticket to capital murder.
For every dollar we spend on public defenders, we spend $3 on prosecutors.
Public defenders have to do pretty much everything on their own.
Social workers, counselors.
Investigating is another piece of it.
The average public defender holds 300 cases annually.
You never feel like there's enough time.
Public defenders have health issues all the time.
A lot of people give up and say, I can't do this work anymore.
Gideon's Promise trains, mentors, and supports public defenders.
There are a lot of people who say that they would not still be public defenders, but for Gideon's Promise.
It's fueled me to continue on in this fight.
Gideon's Promise has changed the face of public defense.
People see us as troublemakers.
Good trouble only.
We don't make it easy. It should not be easy to take away someone's liberty.
Tired of spending your hard-earned money on woke corporations that don't share your pro-freedom values? Fed up with sipping liberal lattes and progressive cappuccinos? Introducing Founding Flavors from AP for Liberty Shop. Get your day started with Washington's Revolutionary Roast. As robust and principled as the man himself, this blend is the shot of energy heard round the world. Or maybe you want to taste the fervor of freedom with Adams's Patriotic Perk. It's as dynamic and balanced as the U.S. Constitution, sure to awaken your spirit of liberty. For the aficionados, we've got the Jeffersonian Java, a complex mix of flavors that speaks volumes about your refined tastes. And don't forget Betsy's Liberty Lullaby, our decaf option, crafted with the same care and dedication Betsy Ross put into our Star-Spangled Banner. This blend lets you enjoy the taste of freedom anytime without losing sleep. No woke beans here, folks, just pure patriotic pro-freedom flavors brewed with love for liberty. So why compromise your principles for a cup of coffee? Stand up for your values, perk up your patriotism, and start your day the American way. Get your Founding Flavors at apforlibertyshop.com.